All right. This question is from Tony Sticks. Says, "What is your favorite argument for the Christian worldview from a skeptic perspective?"
Uh, Probably just the resurrection. Right? There are lots of
Yeah.
arguments. There are lots of arguments, and you could go stepwise, right? You could
Right.
you
Right.
could argue for the existence of God in various
Right.
ways. You could you can even within Christianity you could make a case from Old Testament prophecies and so on. But
Yeah. Yeah.
my favorite argument would be the resurrection.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I'm curious because a couple of people asked this, and what they may be asking too is, was there a particular part of the resurrection that stood out to you more? Like for me personally, what stands out to me more is the authenticity and the honesty in a lot of the writings and stuff like that, and that jumps out a little bit more than some of the other points. Is there anything like that for
Are,
you?
are you talking about like the writers admitting various embarrassing things about the apostles and
Yeah.
so on? And
Yeah.
similar to what we're talking about with the Muslim sources, right?
Right.
If I'm making this up as I go along,
Yeah.
people normally cast themselves as
Yeah.
the heroes and not like just total cowards and stuff like this. And
Yeah.
so yeah, you have things like that.
Okay.
What got me thinking most when I was studying this, and I was still an atheist, was the deaths of the apostles, because I'd always believed that, like I had an explanation for the origin of Christianity.
Right.
Jesus had a number of followers. Jesus died. They wanted to keep the message going, and so they made up a bunch of stories about him appearing to them afterwards.
Yeah.
This got Christianity started, and it worked. Right? They came up with a plan. Their plan worked. So give them their props for success there, but it doesn't mean I have to believe it, right?
Right.
And that's fine based on what I knew at that point. But
Right.
later you eventually find out how these guys died. They went to their horrible, bloody deaths,
Right.
proclaiming that Jesus had appeared to them, risen from the dead. And I'm thinking, I can't think of anyone in history who's willing to go to a horrible, bloody death over something he knew he was making up.
Right,
What are the odds that of all the people in history who are willing to die horrible, bloody deaths for something they lied about,
Right.
they just all happen to be followers of this one guy?
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't make sense. The only thing
Yeah.
that made sense is something really convinced them that he had appeared to them. So that's probably the thing that stood out to me
sense.
most.
Cool. And just because I know somebody's going to say this, because they always do, someone's going to say, well, today you have a lot of terrorists who are willing to die for their beliefs. So just want to explain the difference real quick.
Yeah, huge difference, right?
Yep.
And notice the situation with the terrorists, that's a situation that would apply to us.
Right, exactly.
Like the terrorists,
Yeah.
we believe in Christianity because we heard a message from other people. We examined sources from other people. We examined arguments from other people.
Right.
We became convinced of what we believe, and now we're willing to die for it, right? Because
Right.
I'm willing to die for it.
Yeah,
and
I am too.
You're
Yeah.
starting to work with me now, and you know this is not
Yeah.
exactly safe stuff, and that you were actually
Exactly.
putting in the long run, doing stuff we were planning to do in the very near future,
Absolutely.
as of
Yeah.
2 months from now.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
You're signing a death warrant on yourself.
Yeah.
You're willing to do that. Now, why?
Yeah.
It's because we believe in what we're doing, right?
Exactly.
We believe in what we're doing. We're willing to die for it.
Yeah.
So, and we know, whatever we know about people who are flying planes into buildings, we know they're willing to die
Right.
for what they believe.
Right.
Does that mean it's true? Well, no, it can't. That can't possibly mean that something is true.
Right.
Because we disagree with them, and we're all willing to die.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that doesn't tell us that. What it does tell us is we really believe it, right?
Right.
If we're doing this and we're willing to lay our lives down, it tells us we really believe it. Now,
Right.
for most people, knowing that they really believe something doesn't show that it's true.
Right.
But the apostles were not people who heard some message about Jesus
Yeah.
and then really believed it with a lot of confidence and then were willing to go out and die for it. They weren't
Right.
dying for some message that they heard preached to them and believed it with a lot of confidence.
Right.
And so they went to their deaths, and so we know they believed it.
Right.
They were people who were dying for something that they claimed they saw.
Yeah.
They claimed that they saw a man who had risen from the dead and appeared to them.
Yeah.
So they're not dying for a message that they
Yeah.
heard. They're dying for a person that they saw.
Right. And they were in a position to know if it was true or not.
So
Yeah.
that's the difference, right?
Yep.
We know an ISIS terrorist believes what he's dying for.
Right.
We know the apostles believed what they were dying for.
Right.
What did they believe?
Right.
Not just, hey, I believe these things I heard about Jesus. I believe I saw Jesus. So the question then becomes, we know they believed that they saw a risen man, a man who had risen from the dead. What could have given them that belief? You ask what could have given this ISIS jihadi his belief? Well,
Yeah.
his parents taught him, right? I
Right,
can explain
yeah.
that,
Right,
I
right.
can explain how you came to believe. I can explain
Right.
how I came to believe. How did
Yeah.
these guys come to believe?
Right. Exactly.
That's the question. It's
Yep.
not they heard a message, right?
Yeah.
So the question becomes, what did they see with their eyes that convinced them that it was a man who had risen from the dead?
Yeah.
And you start asking that question, you only have a couple of, you can say hallucinations.
Right.
That's not going to work. Why are they all seeing the same hallucination? A hallucination is just in your mind. You can, some of the oddball theories that have come along. Jesus had a long lost twin,
Right.
things like that. If it's
Conspiracy
anything
theories.
like that, you're eventually going to have some doubts along
Right,
the way.
right.
But these guys, whether it's 10 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later, their confidence is never shaken, and you can kill them and torture them at any point along the way, and they never back down from that original claim. So whatever they saw,
Right.
it wasn't some hazy figure in a corner. Oh, I think that's Jesus. Oh, let's go preach his resurrection.
Right.
It's something that totally shook them to their core,
Yeah.
reshaped them, and made them completely indestructible in their faith for the remainder of their lives. And nothing could ever shake them out of that. What could that be? I've never come up with an explanation other than resurrection. So
That's good. Good. Cool.